All right, man. Peace. So now this is a nice little segment on the Colin Cowherd show with a very ardent and passionate LeBron James supporter named Nick Wright. He's gone out of his way to try to diminish Michael Jordan in order to advance or exalt LeBron James in the fictitious and fallacious argument that he's as good as Jordan. He's been doing it all season, and now he's finally back on the show for a segment to face the heat for his erroneous predictions. So let's see how he handles it.
Nick Wright, first things first, debut September 5th on FS1. Okay, I know it has been a very rough couple of days for you. The beard has grown in. You probably haven't slept. You look to have a slight sunburn. You're punishing yourself.
I'm all right.
Okay.
I'm all right. I was on the beach with my family yesterday. I don't have, since I'm not in Los Angeles, I'm in Houston. I don't have our wonderful makeup people to make me look better than I typically do, than I do in real life. So people are getting a much rawer version visually of me right now. But listen, I'm fine. Colin, you know this better than anybody. In our business, you give bold opinions. You get ignored unless they are at least somewhat well-researched or you have some good reasoning behind them.
And oftentimes you just give fallacious opinions to get attention for yourself. Opinions that really have no foundation, not fact-based, just emotionally driven, to the point where you even contort facts and leave certain aspects of the full argument out so that you can perpetuate your own personal borderline vendetta against certain people, really just to get your name out there. Like I've stated already, I like LeBron. I think LeBron is an all-time great player, top 10, top 5 all-time great player. He's not Michael Jordan. He never was Michael Jordan. That ship left when he flopped against the Dallas Mavericks. It just never had any real basis. But they were trying to pull Jordan down to lift LeBron up, and that's the wrong way to go about things.
This NBA season, there were two hills I was ready to die on. One of them is the MJ LeBron hill, which we can get to in a bit. That one I am not only not dying on, I am thriving on. More people are arriving. There's bountiful food aplenty.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug, allegedly.
The other hill was the Warriors would have been better off without Kevin Durant and standing pat. That hill, not only is it deserted, my wife has left me on that hill. I am perishing on that hill.
I never understood that argument. When people try to talk about or tell me how the Warriors were not going to be as good this season because last year they had a great bench. Look, let me tell you, you don't win championships because you have a great bench. All right? Nobody wins championships because they have a great bench. You win championships because you have a great starting 5 and a very good 2 guys coming off the bench behind them. For the most part, when you get to the deep rounds in the playoffs and in the finals, your top 5 guys are getting 40-plus minutes every game. All right, you need 5 plus 2. That's the key in the That's the key when you get in the late rounds of the playoffs, particularly the third round and the finals. And the Warriors bench, they were horrific in last year's finals. They couldn't deal with the physicality at all. The pressure got to be too much. Barbosa and Spates and Ezeli and those guys, they totally came up short. They totally flopped. Livingston came up short in the last couple of games, but they were able to keep him because he can do so many different things on a basketball court. They should have played Ian Clark more last year. But, it is what it is.
I got to own it. There are reasons that I thought the Warriors would have been better standing pat with the 73-win team. I thought getting rid of their rim protection was risky when we know rim protection has been what has slowed LeBron James down in the playoffs in the past. I thought their depth wouldn't be as good. I thought Andre Iguodala, who was really bad early in the season, was washed up as a player, and then he was excellent in the finals.
Yes, he was excellent in the finals. And like I said, in last year's finals, he had these full body spasms in the last 2 games. Like I've already stated, there were about 5 or 6 things that happened consecutively to enable the Cleveland Cavaliers to win the finals last year. They had no business winning it last year. They were a better team this year. And that's why it was important for the Warriors not to stand pat and to bring in Kevin Durant. They did the right thing. They definitely did the right thing.
I thought Steph Curry would take a massive step back from where he was, which he did in the regular season. Then he was awesome in the finals.
And I give Steph Curry a hell of a lot of credit, man. I mean, he was magnanimous to the point of being deferential, or deferential to the point of being magnanimous, I should say. I mean, he allowed Durant to come in and basically take that team over. So, shouts out to Steph Curry. He must really have a very high self-image to allow himself to do that, because most people would be too insecure to allow that to happen.
I thought all those things would happen, and I was just flatly wrong. It turns out you had the second best player in the world, Kevin Durant, and the final stage not too big for him at all, that team was better equipped to win a title than the team last season.
And kudos to you for acknowledging that you were wrong. All right? Takes a man to do that. A lot of the tinfoil hats, you never see them say that they were wrong. Oh, the NBA, they want the Cavs to win in 7. They're going to come back from down 0-3 to win it in 7. You watch what happened. And then they win. And then Golden State wins in 5, and you don't see none of these dudes anymore. Oh, no, but what happened was, the reason why they let Golden State win in 5 was because it happened on June 12th. And when you put it in reverse, 216 is the area code for Cleveland, Ohio. Man, just shut the fuck up. Just shut the hell up.
And I just gotta own that one. I was alone on that island. There was a moment in time where it looked like people were gonna join me on it. Turns out, no, there's no lifeboats coming. So I look into the camera and say, I was dead wrong about the Golden State Warriors, and I just gotta eat that one.
Good for you. Good for you. Kudos to you on that one. Now you just have to admit and acknowledge that LeBron James is not on Michael Jordan level. That's all. But we know that you're not going to do that. You won't do that until LeBron James gets busted for using performance enhancers, allegedly.
Why have you never been more right on LeBron James?
I mean, you know why. Because we all watched the same finals. I watched Doug Gottlieb yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was funny. The Chiron says, is the whole LeBron's better than MJ argument just about stats? Let's talk about stats for a moment. What are stats? They're the way we count what you do to help your team win.
Well, no, stats are actually the way that you accumulate numbers to evaluate players and whether or not they're helping or hurting your team. That's why both good stats and bad stats are accumulated, as well as the time in which you infract or you assist your team in either winning or losing the game. All right, that's what statistics are. Statistics are basically a sports version of an historical chronicling of what occurred. It's not just about what you did to help the team. It's also about your overall effect on the team while you were out there or not out there.
Basketball is about who scores more than the other team. So what do points do? Well, they help you score. What do assists do? They guarantee someone on your team scores. What do rebounds do? They either make sure the other team won't score in that possession, or they give your team a chance to score again on that possession. What do steals do? They stop the other team from scoring. What do blocks do? They stop the other team from scoring.
Well, that's why you also need the eye test. Because when you just look at numbers, numbers can tell you one story, but your eyes can tell you a different story. Your eyes could tell you, oh, okay, well, he's scoring baskets here, but while he's doing that, his teammates are stagnant. They're not moving without the ball. He's taking shots on 2 guys when he could be moving the ball. He's getting cheap assists. He's trying to pad his stats with cheap rebounds. These are things that you only know if you watch the game. So stats tell you a story, but not always the story.
So, yeah, I agree with the argument. The stats argument does help LeBron. It's also the most important argument. I then also heard Doug say Jordan took on these challenges that LeBron never has. In the LeBron era, these last 7-8 years, since he's been making the finals every single year, there have been 5 teams that matter. The Boston Celtics, the Oklahoma City Thunder when they had their big 3, the San Antonio Spurs, the Golden State Warriors, and wherever LeBron is. LeBron has beaten all the other teams. The idea that LeBron hasn't risen to challenges is foolish. And now we have, in the last 6 years, LeBron's won 3 titles, won 3 Finals MVPs, and 3 times did not win the Finals MVP. Let's look at the 3 series he did not win the Finals MVP. The first one, he led the series in points and scored 58%, or shot 58% from the field, but they gave the guy guarding him the MVP, Kawhi Leonard. The next one, LeBron went 36, 13, and 9. Yet once again, they gave the guy who held him to 36, 13, and 9, the finals MVP. And this year, all he does, against what I'm told is, and I now might believe, the most talented team ever, is give you 32, 12, and 10 throughout the series. Keep his team dead even when he's on the court, and then they fall apart when he's off the court.
Yeah, but what does that tell you? If he's keeping his team dead even when he's on the court, and when he's off the court, they don't know what to do, that means that the load is too much on him. That means that he has to learn how to play without the basketball, and they need to learn how to move without the basketball. That's what that means. That's why he's so essential to their success, while a guy like a Kevin Durant, who even though he was the MVP of this series, he gets hurt late in the season and the Warriors go 14-0. You know why? Because each component of the Warriors is used to being the main focus depending on whoever's hot and however the defense plays. No matter how the defense is playing Cleveland, LeBron is the focus. LeBron and Kyrie are the focus. They basically play 2-on-5 offensively. All right? So that's how numbers can be deceptive. And so can people.
What more evidence, and that's in year 14, by the way, do people need to recognize, of course, this guy is the best basketball player we've ever seen?
You must be from France. LeBron is great, but LeBron is in the class of a Larry Bird, a Magic Johnson, phenomenal players. But no, he's not Michael Jordan. I'm sorry. And he's certainly not the greatest basketball player I've ever seen. Like I said, I will put him in the class of Magic and Larry. He's on that class. Different people might have a preference, but he's not as good as Michael Jordan. He's just not.
Kevin Durant, I think this team will stay together. I think they're very lucky in one aspect that Klay Thompson's a fairly egoless player. And that's very rare in any sport. Forget just basketball.
Well, what helps Klay be an egoless player was that he was raised in a background with a strong father figure, and he was raised in an environment where he was affluent. So it's not like he's trying to prove something by making a large amount of money and quote-unquote leading a team. You'll find with a lot of these NBA players who grew up without strong father figures, they tend to be more emotionally fragile, and it tends to be very easy for them to move on to other places. All right, and not want to stick things out. They get that a lot of times from the energy that they receive from their single mothers.
When a guy's great and knows he's great and can make and be a superstar in a market, they usually go. Klay Thompson's a unique personality where he wants to be a 2 or a 3 and doesn't want the love. I think keeps this baby together because I think KD and Steph could play forever, and I think Draymond Green likes his role. I think Klay Thompson's ability to handle this emotionally and be very comfortable is really the key to all of this. What do you make of KD not taking the max contract? How does that sit with you?
All right, well, first of all, I think you and I disagree on Klay. I think Klay's been a good soldier, but it's hard for me to forget Klay's quote before Durant officially got there, once he signed, but before they started, where he was asked about sacrificing. He said, "I ain't sacrificing bleep." And
look, Klay is like that chick that's always talking shit about her man, but she ain't going nowhere. Klay ain't going nowhere. Klay is smart enough to understand that offense is tailor-made for him. He can either stay there and average 22, 21, 22 a game on 14 shots, 15 shots, wide open looks, or he can go and join the Charlotte Bobcats or the New Orleans Pelicans and get 19, 20 shots a game and average 27 a game and shoot 43% from the field and go out in the first round. It's up to him.
And then this season, he shot the exact same amount per game, shot I think the same percentage. He didn't sacrifice anything. And then in these finals, he was awful and they won it anyway. I am curious to...
He wasn't awful. He had a bad first game. After that, he was very, very good. And on defense, he was phenomenal.
To see if you're right, that Klay is an egoless player. But to the Durant question, one of the reasons I said the Warriors should have stood pat was it looks like, foolishly assumed Durant was going to want this offseason a full max contract. This is a little complicated, but the Warriors don't have Durant's bird rights. so they can't go over the cap to re-sign him. If he were to demand the full max, as he obviously deserves, as the second best player in the world and the Finals MVP, they would not be able to keep Andre Iguodala, who led the Finals in plus-minus, or Sean Livingston, their only truly competent backup guard. If Durant takes less than the max, then they can bring back everyone.
And he will take less than the max. Golden State, the management at Golden State will make sure that they introduce him to the right business people in the Bay Area to more than compensate him for any money that he might lose in a basketball contract. All right, that's when you got to think, you have to think three-dimensionally and not always directly what's in front of you. All right, a simpleton will take the immediate cash, but sometimes you have to think about how much money you can make just off of the surrounding area. I guarantee you that Joe Lacob and a lot of those other guys who are running the Warriors are introducing KD to a lot of the movers and the shakers in Silicon Valley, the people who are multi-millionaires and billionaires, and they're going to help assist him in diversifying his revenue streams.
I think bad for players as a whole when guys take discounts. You always want, if you're in the labor pool, the salaries to be pushed up. But Durant can do whatever he wants. It is enormously beneficial to the Warriors. The difference for Durant of just $4 million a year, it's complicated salary cap stuff, but that $4 million could be the difference between being allowed to keep Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston and having to let them go. And this finals is different if you don't have Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston.
Finally, I can't wait for the NBA draft. I think it's all a smokescreen. I think Lonzo Ball's a Laker. Your thoughts?
I think he's a Laker. You and I talked yesterday off the air about that commercial. That was a really smart way for Lonzo to reclaim some of the narrative surrounding him. It was a very smart way to let the world know with a not-so-subtle wink, listen, I think my dad's kind of ridiculous too, but don't hold it against me.
Well, that's part of the American programming. If you affiliate yourself with an older alpha male type man of color who happens to be your father, you must disassociate yourself from him because that's not allowed. But as we all know, a Wanda Durant or a Mary Babers Green, who are Kevin Durant and Draymond Green's moms respectively, they can emote whenever they want. They can elicit strong reactions whenever they want. They can send out strong energy whenever they want and how they feel.
I don't know. I didn't hear your full thoughts on it except for when we talked on the phone, so I don't know what you've said on the show today. But that was a great way for Lonzo Ball to reclaim likability and for him to separate himself from some of his dad's crazier stuff. If I'm a GM, I look at that and I'm like, oh, so this guy is an independent young man. Everyone that age is somewhat reliant on their parents. But I look at that commercial and I say, okay, he is not totally beholden to his father. And by the way, the NBA is not the NFL. The NBA doesn't let these nonsense, quote, distractions or character stuff or the nebulous character stuff hurt you. If you're great, you're going to be drafted high. I think Lonzo Ball was always going number 2 to Los Angeles.
I agree. It's all a smokescreen. Magic is trying as hard as he can to try to dissuade the Boston Celtics from drafting Lonzo Ball. Because I can see Boston drafting Lonzo Ball just to throw a monkey wrench into the Lakers program and maybe trading him to a Phoenix.
Los Angeles.
Good seeing you, Nick Wright. First things first, debut September 5th, FS1. Use moisturizer for that sunburn.
I know. I'm the worst. Thank you.
It ain't going to help. But anyway, yes, I could see Boston drafting Lonzo Ball and trading him to a Phoenix just to throw a monkey wrench in the Lakers program. And then you could match up Lonzo Ball with that other kid that's out there. I can't remember the cat name from Kentucky who had a 70-point game this year. The other little light-skinned dude. They would make a very, very good young backcourt for the future. All right, but anyway, peace.